The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. With this amazing thought, a very good morning to all my dear students. I hope that you all are in good health. This is Shreya Jadhav welcoming you all to my e-learning channel. And today we are going to do English Grade 10 Supplementary Reading 7 The Necklace, written by Gay de Maupassant. This is part 2 of the video. So, before starting with the reading of the chapter, let us know something about the author. Henry Rennie Albert Gay de Maupassant, born on 5th August 1850, died 6th July 1893, was a 19th century French author remembered as the master of the short story form and as the master and a representative of naturalist school who depicted human lives and destinies and social forces in disillusioned and often pessimist terms. Introduction for answer. Prose. Prose name The Necklace. Author's name Gay de Maupassant. Genre short story. Summary. Matilda is invited to a grand party. She has a beautiful dress but no jewelry. She borrows a necklace from a friend and loses it. What happens then? Now let us go ahead through the summary of the chapter. Matilda was a pretty young lady born in a family of clerks. She said she had no doubts and no hopes of marrying a rich and distinguished man. She was married to a pretty clerk working in the office of the Board of Education, and she was unhappy. She lived in a poor apartment with shabby walls and worn chairs. All these things tortured and angered her. However, she was a dreamer who thought of elegant dinners, shining silvers, and exquisite served in marvelous dishes. She also thought of frocks and jewels. She had a rich friend, a schoolmate from the convent she studied, who she visited. After every visit, she suffered so much that she wept for days from misery and disappointment. One day, her husband, Mr. Loisel, showed his wife Matilda an invitation card from the Minister of Public Instructions. She was not happy, but threw the invitation on the table, refusing to have anything to do with it. She didn't have proper clothes to wear at the ball, and she started weeping. Her husband asked her how much a new dress would cost. She said that it would be around 400 francs. He had saved that much money to buy a gun to join some hunting parties the next summer, but he gave her the money. When the day of the ball party came closer, Matilda was again sad, as she didn't have proper jewelry to match the dress. He told her to wear some natural flowers, but she didn't agree. So he suggested that she should borrow some jewels from her friends, Madame Foster's. Matilda went to her friend and borrowed a diamond necklace. Matilda went to the party very happy. She looked beautiful, and men were looking at her and wanted to dance with her. After the party, her husband hired a carriage and they reached home. After reaching home, when Matilda removed the wrap from her shoulders, she at once realized that she had lost the necklace. They started searching for that everywhere, but everything in vain. Mr. Loisel went to the police, to the cab officers, and even put an advertisement in the newspaper offering a reward, but the necklace was not found. At the end of the week, they lost all hope and decided to replace the necklace by buying a new one. There was a necklace of the same design in the shop. Its cost was 40,000 francs, but they could not get it. But they could get it for 36,000 francs. Mr. Loisel went to the head 18,000 francs which he had inherited from his father, so used that and borrowed the remaining at the high rate of interest in return a similar type of diamond necklace to Madame Foister's. Matilda took the new necklace and returned it to her friend, who didn't even look at it but just put it in the jewel box. Matilda and Mr. Loisel lived a hard life. They lived in a rented small room. She did all the housework by herself. Mr. Loisel did extra work, and they spent of 10 years of their life to pay the money they had borrowed to pay the debt. The hard work made Matilda looked so old and haggard, and one Sunday when Matilda was working in the Champs Elysees, she met Madame Foster, who didn't recognize her. She talked with Madame Foster and explained everything. Matilda and Madame both were shocked. She told that the necklace was an artificial one and its cost was only 500 francs. So, dear students, this is all about the summary of the chapter. Now, let us go through the reading and explanation of it. The day of the ball approached, and Amon Loisel seemed sad, disturbed, anxious. Nevertheless, her dress was nearly ready. Her husband said to her one evening, "What is the matter with you? You have acted strangely for 2 or 3 days." And she responded, "I am vexed not to have a jewel, nothing to adorn myself with. I shall have such a poverty-stricken look. I would prefer not to go to this party." He replied, "You can wear some natural flowers in this season. They look very chic." She was not convinced. "No," she replied. "There is nothing more humiliating than to have a shabby air in the midst of rich women." Then her husband cried out, "How stupid we are! Go and find your friend, Mrs. Foister's, and ask her to lend you her jewels." So again, the day of the ball was coming, and Mrs. Loisel was not at all happy. She was very sad. She wished for a very beautiful dress. Her husband made arrangement for the money to get the prettiest dress they could afford in the budget. Now again she was upset because she was not having a good jewelry to wear. His husband told him that she should wear natural flowers, but Matilda was not at all satisfied with that. At this, his husband give her a choice that she should go to one of her friends and she should borrow the necklace from her. She uttered a cry of joy. "It is true," she said. "I had not thought of that." The next day, she took herself to her friend's house and related her story of distress. Madame Foister went to her closet, took out a large jewel case, brought it, opened it, and said, "Choose, my dear." She saw the first some bracelets, then a collar of pearl, then a Venetian cross of gold and jewels of admirable workmanship. She tried the jewel before the glass, hesitated, but could neither decide to take them nor leave them. Then she asked, have you nothing more? Why, yes, look for yourself. I do not know what will please you. Suddenly she discovered in a black satin box a superb necklace of diamonds. Her hands trembled and she took it out. She placed it about her throat against her dress and was ecstatic. Then she asked in hesitating voice full of anxiety, could you lend me this? Only this. Why? Yes, certainly. So next day Matilda went to her dear friend and she told everything that what was the situation. Matilda's friend was really generous lady. She opened her whole closet for her that whatever she wished and wanted to buy means what wanted to borrow, she can borrow it. And Matilda was having a very sharp and keen eyes. She looked for a very beautiful diamond necklace and she asked for the permission, and Matilda affirmatively answered that of course she can take the same. She fell upon the neck of her friend, embraced with passion, then went away with her treasure. The day of the ball arrived. Madame Loisel was a great success. She was the prettiest of all, elegant, gracious, smiling, and full of joy. All the men noticed her, asked her name, and wanted to be presented. She danced with enthusiasm, intoxicated with pleasure, thinking of nothing but all this admiration, this victory, so complete and sweet to her heart. She went home towards 4 o'clock in the morning. Her husband had been half asleep in one of the little salons since midnight, with 3 other gentlemen whose wives were enjoying themselves very much. He threw around her shoulders the modest wrap they had carried, whose poverty clashed with the elegance of the ball costume. She wished to hurry away in order not to be noticed by the other women who were wrapping themselves in rich furs. So finally, the day had come when both Mr. and Mrs. Loisel were supposed to go to the ball, and it was a great success. She was looking really very pretty. She was looking elegant, gracious, smiling, and full of joy. Each and every man in the ball noticed her, asked for her name, and wanted to dance with her. She was full of enthusiasm and she was admired by everyone. It was almost 4 in the morning that her husband was half asleep in one of the little salons since midnight. And when the ball was over, she was in a great hurry because the wrap which she was having was not that good and posh enough, was not that rich fur, and she didn't want it to notice, means other females should not notice that she was just showing off. She is not that rich enough. Loisel detained her. Wait, said he. I'm going to call a cab. But she could not listen and descended the steps rapidly. When they were out in the street, they found no carriage, and they began to seek for one, hailing the coachman whom they saw at a distance. They walked along towards the river, hopeless and shivering. Finally, they found one of those old carriages that one sees in Paris after nightfall. It took them as far as their door, and they went wearily up to their apartment. It was all over for her, and on his part he remembered that he could have to be at office by 10 o'clock. She removed the wraps from her shoulder before the glass. for the final view of herself in her glory. Suddenly she uttered a cry. Her necklace was not around her neck. So now Matilda didn't want it to get noticed over there, and she hurried very swiftly and quickly. And Mr. Loisel had prepared some sort of plans for her, that they would take the cab and then they would go. But they had took one of the carriage they found from the street, and they reached home. And his husband was very tired, and he remembered only one thing, that now they are again back in their originality, and he was supposed to take back his responsibilities, and that is that he was supposed to reach office by 10 o'clock. And moreover to that, when Matilda tried to remove her wrap from her shoulders to look for the very last time in her glory, she cried out, and the necklace was not around her neck. Loisel, already half undressed, asked, "What is the matter?" She turned towards him excitedly. I no longer have Madame Foyster's necklace." He arose in dismay. "What? How is that? It is not possible." And they looked in the folds of the dress, the folds of a cloak, in pockets, everywhere. They could not find it. He asked, "Are you sure you still had it when we left Minister's house?" "Yes, I felt it as we came out, but if you have lost it in the street, we should have heard it fall. It must be in the cab." "Yes, it is possible." "Did you take the number?" "No." "And you? Did you notice what it was?" "No." They looked at each other and utterly cast down. Finally, Loisel dressed himself again. "I'm going," he said, "over the track where we went on foot, to see if I can find it." And he went. She remained in her evening gown, not having to force to go to bed. Towards 7 o'clock her husband returned. He had found nothing. He went to the police, to the cab officers, and put an advertisement in newspapers offering a reward. So now what happened? Matilda was in utter shock and confusion that where the necklace might have gone. And at that time, Mr. Loisel was also in a big confusion. And at that time duration, Mr. Loisel went to place, and he went and searched out every nook and corner wherever they have went. But it was next to impossible for him to search it out. Wherever they have went, they searched. They went to the cab person in whose carriage they had came. He went to the police station to file a report. He went ahead for the advertisement in the newspapers also, that whoever would find this necklace would get a reward. And they all waited, but nothing was of any good sort. She waited all day in the state of bewilderment before this frightful disaster. Loisel returned in the evening, his face pale. He had discovered nothing. He said, "Write to your friend that you have broken the kelps of the necklace, and that you will have it repaired. That will give us time," she wrote as he detected. So now eventually what happened, they were searching, they gave advertisement in the newspaper. So by that time his husband told that you should at least write a letter to your friend that there is some mending issues which Matilda will do, and then she would return it so that they could get a bit of time. At the end of the week, they had lost all hope, and Mr. Loisel, older by 5 years, declared, "We must replace this jewel." In a shop of Palace Royal, they found a chaplet of diamonds, which seemed to them exactly like the one they had lost. It was valued at 40,000 francs. They could get it for 36,000. Loisel possessed 18,000 francs, which his father had left him. He borrowed the rest. He made ruinous promises, took money from usurers and the whole race of lenders. Then he went to get a new necklace, depositing on the merchant's counter 36,000 francs. When Madame Loisel took back the jewel to Madame Forestier, the latter said to her in a frigid tone, "You should have returned them to me sooner, for I might have needed them." So now, eventually, what happened? Both Matilda and his husband waited for one whole week that somehow they would get a report from somewhere because they have given an advertisement for it, but they didn't found. And then Mr. Loisel decided that they would return back the jewel. They went to one of the stores. They found the exact piece, the same that they had lost, and somehow the cost was 40,000 francs, which was too much, and it was being discounted to them for 36,000. Loisel possessed almost 18,000 francs, which his father had given him. The remaining money he had borrowed it from the rest of the lenders, and somehow at a very high interest they all have given it to him. They deposited the whole amount to the merchant's counter, and they got the jewel. Mrs. Loisel went to Mrs. Foister's home, and at that time, no, Madame Foister also said in a very frigid tone to her that at least she should have written it sooner, because she was also in need of that necklace, because she wanted to wear it to some other place. Madame Foister did not open the jewel box as Madame Loisel feared she would. What she would think if she should perceive the substitution? What should she say? Would she take her for a robber? Madame Loisel now knew the horrible life of necessity. She did her part, however, completely heroically. It was necessary to pay this frightful debt. She would pay it. They sent away the maid. They changed their lodging. They rented some room in an attic. She learned the odious work of the kitchen. She washed the dishes. She washed the soiled linen, their clothes and dishcloths, which she hung on the line to dry. She took down the refuse to the street each morning and brought up the water, stopping at each landing to catch her breath, and clothed like a woman of the people. She went to the grocers, the butchers, and the fruiterers with her basket on her arm, shopping, haggling to the last sou of her miserable money. So eventually now Matilda thought that somehow she would be caught by this thing, and when Mrs. Loisel would know open the jewelry box, she would come to know. But somehow she didn't open it at that particular time, and she went away from there. Now the actual condition and the situation of Matilda was very bad. The reason was that as they have lended so much of money, now they were supposed to repay it back, and the condition was becoming worse and worse. All the household chores, works, everything was done by Matilda. And as you all know that at initial stage also she was not at all happy with her life. And again, because of this situation, she was not happy again. But somehow she would go to every person to save her miserable money. The husband worked evenings, putting the books of some merchant in order. At night he often did copying at 5 sous a page. And this life lasted for 10 years. At the end of 10 years they had resorted all. Madame Loisel seemed old now. She had become a strong, hard woman, the crude woman of the poor household. Her hair badly dressed, her skirts airy, her hands red. She spoke in a loud tone and washed the floors with large pails of water. But sometimes, when her husband was at office, she would sit herself before the window and think of that evening party of former times, of that ball where she was so beautiful and so flattered. How could it have been if she had not lost the necklace? Who knows? How singular is life! How full of changes! How a small thing will ruin or save one. So, she as a woman had changed totally. She had become a very hardworking woman. She used to work like a maid, and she was not at all delicate one how she used to be before 10 years. And she used to not talk also very loudly. But whenever she was alone at her home, her husband was not around. At that time, she would just sit near the window and she would just look at know how that evening made her feel so special. And all of a sudden, within a blink of an eye, everything changed. Her life turned 360-degree, and it was a big shock for her, the turning point of her life. So she's telling that how a very small thing can ruin everything or can save one. One Sunday, as she was taking a walk in the Champ Isis to rid herself of the cares of the week, she suddenly perceived a woman walking with a child. It was Madame Foister, still young, still pretty, still attractive. Madame Loisel was affected. Should she speak to her? Yes, certainly. She knew that she had paid. She would tell her all. Why not? She approached her. Good morning, Jenny. Her friend did not recognize her and was astonished to be so familiarly addressed by this common personage. She stammered, But, madam, I do not know. You must be mistaken. No, I am Matilda Loisel. Her friend uttered a cry of astonishment. Oh, my poor Matilda, how you have changed. Yes, I have had some hard days since I saw you, and some miserable ones, and all because of you. Because of me? How is that? You recall a diamond necklace that you loaned me to wear to that minister's ball? Yes, very well. Well, I lost it. How is that since you returned it to me? I returned another to you exactly like it, and it has taken us 10 years to pay for it. You can understand that it was not easy for us who have nothing, but it is finished and I am decently content. Madame Foister stopped short. She said, You say you bought a diamond necklace to replace mine? Yes, she did not perceive it then. They were just alike. And she smiled with proud and simply joy. Madame Foister was touched, and she took both her hands as she replied, Oh, my poor Matilda, mine was false. They were not worth over 500 francs. So now, eventually, what happened when Matilda saw Mrs. Foister over there? She looked still as pretty and young, beautiful. Yes, she was dressed really very well, and Matilda was not at all in good attire. Her hair was not done properly, and at first she thought that she was afraid in talking to her, but then she told that she has not done anything wrong. She had given back the necklace. Then the whole incidents, she is putting forward that how she had managed to get a new one, and at that time, Madam Forster told that the necklace which they gave her was a false necklace. Okay, and it didn't cost more than 500 francs. So this is all about the chapter. I hope that every one of you have understood it. Thank you for watching and have a great day, everyone.